Since announcing his run for a second White House term in 2024, former President Donald Trump has almost entirely erased one word from his campaign: Republican. A new NBC News report analyzed how Trump has distanced himself from the party name in a campaign that's starting to look more like his 2016 run. I'm joined now by the two NBC News reporters behind this story, Vaughn Hilliard and Jonathan Allen. So, Jonathan, first to you. You reviewed Trump's recent speeches, interviews, video posts, face-to-face interactions with voters. How has his language changed since the last time he launched a presidential bid?
Well, you'll remember in 2020, he had the Republican convention, a big part of the Republican convention at the White House. There was no hiding from the party that he led. He talked about Republican candidates. He talked about Republican values. What you are hearing now on the campaign trail in all of those venues that we just discussed, in the speeches and face-to-face interactions with voters and videos that he puts out, he almost never uses the word Republican. He does it very sparingly. And when he does, it's often to disparage other Republicans. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, for example, or Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor.
Vaughn, how has the calculus shifted between when Trump last ran and now?
Look, there is an acknowledgement among advisors and allies that Donald Trump lost in 2020. And in order to be able to make the pitch to voters, and including those within the Republican Party, he's got to broaden out his appeal beyond the Republican Party as we know it here. And that is where you have seen this, really the paradigm shift to more of a us versus them, right? Creating an opposition party as opposed to a Republican Party operation here. And that is what we saw in 2016 was Donald Trump sort of the Republican Party, go to hell, I'm doing this here, and I am something that is greater. I'm going to appeal to the working class voters that had voted for Democrats in past presidential elections here. And that is exactly what they are trying to cobble up here this time. There's a right-wing provocateur named Charlie Kirk who had suggested, right, this is quite a day in America when the likes of RFK Jr. is getting applause from some of the conservative grassroots movement, while Republican senators get booed. And that is where this calculation is being made, is that Donald Trump here in the months ahead, that they believe that they already have the Republican Party on lockdown here based off of the polling, and now they need to go and reach beyond that.
I just want to say it's an incredible turn of events where you start your report with there's an acknowledgement that he lost 2020. I'm just going to leave that there for right now. But Jonathan, from the GOP establishment perspective, where does this leave top party leaders when it comes to their relationship with Trump?
Most of them are very careful about their relationship with Trump because even if they don't like him, and many of them don't want to see him as the standard bearer. Many of them believe that he was responsible for consecutive election disappointments in 2018, 2020, and 2022. But even the folks who don't like him treat him very carefully and with kid gloves because they understand that he is willing to attack them, fellow Republicans, and he is willing to attack the Republican Party. And in fact, that's part of his strategy to build this campaign that's like the 2016 outsider attempt that he waged successfully. He took on all of the sacred cows of American politics, the institutions of the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, and really everything else. So they understand that he's somebody who can cause a lot of pain for them if he gets in their way, if they get in his way, I should say.
Vaughn, you touched on the us versus them mentality a little bit, but you also talked to an advisor, a Trump advisor, who told you whether it's the uniparty or the deep state or the world government, there is most definitely a recognition amongst the electorate at large that there is an us versus them component in all of this. How are we seeing that manifest in some of his campaign speeches and rhetoric? Right.
Number one, he hasn't even said that he would commit to supporting a Republican nominee that is not named Donald Trump. He has suggested he may not partake in the first or second GOP debates later this summer. And so for Donald Trump in his campaign, it's about appealing to folks who, in their words, are frustrated with what is being taught in schools, or the extent to which the military, again, in their words, has gone woke, or whether there's frustration in the justice system in what they contend is a politicized justice system. They're going to try to make the appeal that the government, the deep state, the big government is getting too much involved into the lives of everyday Americans, and that Donald Trump best represents the opportunity to take on those guys in suits. That includes not just Joe Biden, but also the likes of Ron DeSantis. That is is the pitch that they are trying to make here in order to have a legitimate pitch to these not only Republican voters, but also Democrats and independents heading into 2024.
Okay, Yvonne Hilliard and Jonathan Allen, thank you both for your reporting.
Thank you.